works.
Well, those will dry off. I don't want to ruin this.
Oh, it's not play now. Okay, everybody. I'm sorry the music isn't working, so you can imagine Ice Cube singing for us right now. So, welcome. I'm LordBlight. I'm in real life Bob Shaker. And today's panel is, did I just get hacked? How to protect yourself before you wreck yourself. So we wanted a catchy titles to get as many of you in here as possible. The reason that I submitted this to Twitch is I am an incredibly tiny streamer, not in girth as much as in number of viewers. But within getting to 100 full, followers, my Spotify account was compromised. And I thought, that's interesting. Could it have anything to do with the streaming thing? In full disclosure, before we start this, one of our panelists at the end there, Steve and myself, work for Symantec. We are the world's largest cybersecurity company. We own Norton. But we're not here on our company's dime. Steve and I have paid out of our pockets to be here because we're also part of this community. And we care about your safety and what you guys are doing to protect it. So we're going to let the panelists introduce themselves. I think I've said enough about who I am, and I'm going to stick around afterwards in case there are any other questions. I do have some stuff to give away, and we're lucky the room isn't too big because I shouldn't have any problem handing out the stuff I brought. You're going to see it's company branded because I'm no fool. I take advantage of my company when I can, right? I told them, hey, I want some free swag, and they said, great, what do we get out of it? I said, nothing. This has nothing to do with you, but you're going to hook me up. And they're super nice people. So they were like, yeah, take all this stuff and hand it out to everybody. So everyone here, before they introduce themselves, is hand-selected because they, too, had an incident of some kind. And I've asked them to share their stories because I want you to see that these things are real and they happen to people just like you. So the first person who's not here is Dr. Lupo. He has recorded a video for me. He was supposed to be sitting down there, and then TwitchCon called him up and said, hey, we need you to cast this, and they paid him more than I did. And I was paying him nothing, so even if they just told him he could come here for free, he was gone. He was super sorry. I can't tell you guys just how much I had to beg him to stop apologizing, but I think if you don't know who he is, I'll be surprised. So, Jesse, would you start?
Yes, hello, my name is JessyQuil on the internet, and in real life I am Jessica Ritchie. I work full-time as an IT support engineer, and full disclosure, my company is paying for me to be at TwitchCon, but not to shill anything of them. They thought that this panel was very important for me to be on and to discuss the importance of keeping yourself safe on the internet. I have about 9,000 followers on Twitch, 5,000 on Twitter, so I'm medium-sized. I've been doing this Twitch thing for 4 or 5 years now, so I know a lot of different people. I've been in a lot of different circles, and I was stalked by a viewer about 2 years ago, and I also have been DDoS'd, denial of service attack, while I was playing an online video game by someone completely different.
Thanks, Jesse. Fog of War.
My name's Fog, Fog of War Entertainment. I do PvP spaceship battle games, specifically Dreadnought. I'm up here because I've made some dumb mistakes that have resulted in some things being compromised, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I'm a much smaller streamer, approaching 1,000 followers on Twitch, right at 500 on Twitter. It's my first TwitchCon. And I'm all about positivity promotion and desalinating the gaming community at large. Can have fun without being salty.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey, everybody.
Mr. Meckel.
My name's Steve Meckel on the internet. In real life, I go by Steve Meckel. I don't stream, and I don't have any followers that I'm aware of. But I do have an unhealthy relationship with Heroes of the Storm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as LordBlight mentioned, I currently work in cybersecurity operations, but that's not why I was invited. Up until a few years ago, I was an FBI agent investigating both cybercrime and nation-state sponsored attacks against critical U.S. infrastructure. I both tracked down cyber criminals who have conducted hacks, as well as, unfortunately, been the victim of a couple myself, which I'll talk about later.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to take you through a couple of slides. Oh, that's me. So I am also, I told you guys, I work for Symantec. I only have 120-ish followers. I have a YouTube channel that has maybe 140 or 50. And yep, I had an account takeover. That was real fun. So there's a reason why, as gamers, you are a bigger target than other people, and as streamers, a bigger target. And we call it attack surface. So for someone with a yellow badge, like the kids, this fine gentleman here, suck it, Trebek. You know, you may not have a big attack surface because you're not putting yourself out there. You're not advertising yourself. Your face isn't on a face cam, and you're not trying to draw attention. And the more you do that, the more people are going to be interested in you. So the first thing is we seek power. We need power to play our games, right? Some of these games require massive amounts of power. We're not only looking for that power in our hardware, but we're also looking for edges by finding other ways to get performance boosts, be it software that promises something. And that puts us in a position, one, to go places we shouldn't, but two, having a super powerful computer is really important to people who can't get one. By being able to take advantage of your super powerful computer, I can run things on your computer that I can't run on mine because I have import and export laws that don't allow those to come to me. So you have really powerful stuff. Two, we want to be the pros, right? We want to play like them. So we continue to look for that power and continue to make our rigs ridiculous, or even better, multiple rigs, right? You got your streaming rig, you got your gaming rig, you might have another rig to do something else. You know, Full Throttle down there, who's part of my gaming team, has like 5 rigs, right? The less you're using a rig, if it's compromised, the less you might notice, right? We also go and try to find things to help us enhance our accounts. So you'll see an ad, you know, get a free modded account. In fact, we had someone jump on our Discord and say, hey, if you guys join this Discord server, I can get a free Fortnite account that has the original Skull Trooper in it. Like, who the hell's going to give you a free Skull Trooper account because you got 20 people to sign up to their Discord? I'm like, dude, don't respond to anything from those guys. Get off that Discord server. Literally, he hit me back within about 20 seconds saying, dude, between your message and my message, I had 3 emails that were like, hey, come claim your account. When I clicked on it, my antivirus went nuts. And I was like, exactly. So we get sucked into that stuff because it's free. I mean, who's going to say no? Chronic oversharer. This is really hard. So I have a streamer I like a lot. Archie TV, I love the kid. He's great. He's funny. He's a little kooky. Don't tell people your birth date. We're going to get into this a little bit, but you have to be really cognizant of how much you want to share because it's important to build a community. You got to get people to want to see you, but at the same time, you could give away too much, and you'll hear some of that in the story. So you got to be careful not to be a chronic overshare because these guys, and it's the only picture that I could find that I thought people could associate with. You know, I liked the Guy Fawkes mask before they abused it. Needless to say, they're out there, and they're out there in droves. We're not talking about a few people who might want to mess with you. If you can read this, and it's a little tough to read this, what you're essentially seeing is some data, and unfortunately it's getting cut off. I can provide later the source of the data. These are people who watch us do what we do. These are the demographics of people who watch streamers, along with, on the right, the demographics of people who watch esports. If you overlay this data with this data, you start to see that the age groups and the regions where the largest attack communities are primarily aligned with the people who watch video games. 61% of people who watch your games are in the same category of the people who will attack you. And 48% are in the regions with the highest attack activity. And by the way, the United States isn't innocent in this. We're a very big attack community. We're great at it as a community, okay? So when you look at those stats, you have to assume, regardless of your size, the chance that someone's in your stream that might not be who you want them to be, And notice I didn't say who you think they are, because it's really what you want them to be, might not be real. So I want Steve to talk about some of the common gaming threats. These next couple of slides are research performed by Norton. I don't know how many. We got like 600 researchers. All they do all day is find bad guys. And I asked them, look, do you have actual research that's specific to the gaming community? And this is what they gave us. Steve, do you want to take it from there or here? You want me to give you a button?
That's fine, yeah. All right. So the overarching theme of these attacks is that they're financially motivated. So when I got into the security industry about 20 years ago, most of the, I went the wrong way.
Plus button.
It's down. Most of the attacks are actually motivated by nuisance, or we would call today hacktivism. People just trying to prove themselves that they could do it. Nowadays, it's a very, very large international market of exploiting machines for financial gain. One of the new ones that's come up recently has been basically creating botnets out of gamers' machines and then using them to pad your stream numbers. So this was a big thing with ad revenue generation about 5 or 6 years ago. They've moved this scheme into Twitch and YouTube to essentially take over your machine. It can watch up to 5 streams at a time, muted so you don't know what's going on. You might suffer a small performance hit on your gaming rig or your streaming rig, but it's actually being used to pad somebody else's stream numbers. Now that people are, voice communications have become really big in the gaming community. I don't know, when I started gaming, it was, we always had to type everything.
We sat in a room and yelled at each other.
I played games so I didn't have to talk to people. Now I have to talk to people to play games. But the demand for VoIP software, things like Discord and that's what
Discord's
most
fine.
people are using, yeah, are driving hackers to attack these servers. So when you either connect to them or you go to download the client, they'll send you, instead of the real one that's infected with a Trojan horse. Once somebody has code running on your machine, they can do all kinds of stuff. Now they're doing things such as stealing your credentials, stealing passwords. They can take screenshots. They can activate your webcam and microphone, spy on you, to further all manner of financial fraud schemes or extortion. Steam has created a huge market for premium items. Basically, anything that can be sold or traded to other users on Steam is now being targeted by attackers for financial gain. So I think they reported recently up to 77,000 accounts have been attacked in the last year. What's happening is somebody will steal your credentials, they'll go into your account, they'll find your premium items, especially the ones that are worth a lot of money. They will quickly turn them over in gray markets to other people who want them, make money, and then leave. So you're left without all your items. And they have cashed out and taken that money and run. We're also seeing some of this, the stream padding with YouTube. A lot of it's tied to giveaways, as Bob mentioned. Anything that's too good to be true should be avoided. So you'll see a lot of these scams out there that are offering stuff for free. You know, give some personal information about yourself, and you get into a drawing for some free hardware, free game codes, whatever, or loot box codes. And what they're really just farming your personal information so they could then use it to impersonate you or steal your information for financial gain. And it's big.
So before you do this one, I just want everyone, I asked them for Hearthstone attacks because I do play it a lot. So anyone who plays Hearthstone, this isn't an attack against you. I'm a big Hearthstone player, so this made me a little nervous, to be honest.
I don't play Hearthstone, so this doesn't scare me at all. So a lot of the tools that you might use to enhance your Hearthstone playing experience, such as deck trackers and having bots that run to do things like help you farm dust and gold, can also be exploited. So when you're downloading these tools, you're relying on the developer of these tools to implement the tools in a secure way. A lot of community tools, not because they're not good tool developers, not because they're not good, it's just they don't necessarily have the experience in secure development, write tools that can be exploited by other attackers. So this bot's running on your machine, it gets taken over by somebody that finds an exploit. Next thing you know, you're part of a botnet that's being used to steal your financial information and use it to rob you blind. We see things like, this was an interesting one, and I want to be clear that this was a Trojan horse that was impersonating a deck tracker, a legitimate good deck tracking tool. Somebody was seeding download sites with a fake version. When it ran, it looked like the real one, but it actually had additional stuff in there. They were using it to steal passwords and spy on you with your webcam. Webcam and microphone spying is it doesn't get talked about a lot in the press. I saw this several times when I was working in law enforcement, targeting criminal actors. They take pictures, they grab stuff off your microphone, then if they find stuff that's juicy, they'll use it to extort you to get more. They'll use it to extort you to give them money. It can be very disruptive to your life, so it's really important to practice good camera discipline and microphone discipline. Keep it muted when you're not using it. Keep your camera covered when you're not using it, because stuff like this is trying to target young people who are likely to fall for these schemes. Last one, this one's really interesting. So there was another Trojan horse that was masquerading as a legitimate tool for farming golden dust in Hearthstone. Its real purpose, though, was to steal your Bitcoin wallet. So somebody who is smarter than me figured out that Bitcoin wallet addresses take a long time to type. They're really long, random-looking strings. Nobody types them. They copy them out of a secure notepad somewhere. They paste them into the website when they want to make a payment. This Trojan actually monitors your clipboard, which is what Windows uses to manage copying and pasting. And when they see something that looks like a Bitcoin wallet, they just replace it with theirs. So when you go to make a payment, you accidentally pay them instead of the site you're trying to pay. So I hate to admire the bad guys too much, but this is a really clever attack.
That was a good one. And by the way, if you download Hearthstone Deck Tracker today with a very good antivirus software, it will still trigger an alert because there have been instances where the valid version is now walking around with a Trojan horse in it. So be careful. I luckily use the product that I'm going to give every one of you before you leave, which will strip it out and you can go use it safely. So let's jump into the thing that I thought was really important. Let's go into the story. So I'd like to start with Jesse, then we'll just roll into Fog. Steve actually has a story to share with you guys that I think is really interesting as well. So why don't you just kick us off?
Okay. My story is pretty short. I have two actually. I'll talk about the first semi-easy one. I was playing GTA Online and I joined a open server. And it was like the first time that I was playing GTA Online, like, I don't know, 2016 or something. And it was a while ago. And I had an open mic and, you know, just talking to like all the random people and everyone seemed like friendly or whatever. And I won like a boat tournament and I said some silly things like, yeah, I'm a mermaid because I did it or whatever. So apparently one of the people got really upset that a girl beat him. And he said something like, you're never going to play games again. And then I couldn't use my internet for 2 days, and because I had a denial of service attack over and over again. So thankfully, just resetting my router kind of fixed it because my IP then dynamically changes from my ISP, but it was still like a really scary thing where it happened in the evening and I was just kind of distraught and I didn't know what to do. And then the next morning I was like, okay, let me actually use my IT knowledge. Let me reset my router. Everything is fine. And then I'm never going to play online games that broadcast your IP like that very clearly. Another game that does that is The Division with also voice chat. They did that for like 2 or 3 months when it first came out, and apparently it's been patched, but I didn't even mess with it because I had a bad experience in that case. And then secondly, a more scary thing was that I was stalked by a viewer, and it was in good intentions, but it was still a very scary experience. They sent something to my post office box, which is like 2 towns away from me, and that's where I have everything set up, my Amazon, my, like, just whenever I get swag from businesses and stuff, like, I always send everything to my P.O. box. But unfortunately, I forgot that when I registered my LLC for my company you have to put an actual physical address. They didn't take P.O. boxes. So that person looked up my LLC and my company and found one of my home addresses and sent that in a message to me on Discord. And it's like, hey, should I send gifts to this instead? And so what I said was, I don't know what that address is, and you shouldn't be doing stuff like that. And he knew that it was really stalkerish, and he like backed off. But thankfully, like, it was one of those moments where he was able to, like, you know, step back, and it was more of just, he just wanted to send me stuff. He just wanted to be nice kind of thing. But that could have been really bad very quickly if I had a malicious viewer who didn't like that I didn't return their affection, or that I beat them too much at video games, or I didn't co-stream with them enough. I've seen that happen to multiple people over the last few years. So do I talk about what I do to fix it?
No, you get that next.
Like, okay, well,
Alright.
I did fix it, so.
Yeah, we're gonna go through we got the recommendations coming up.
So yeah, those were my two scariest moments, and there's been like little scares here and there, but those are things that have definitely pushed me in my career to focus more on cybersecurity and just awareness of how to protect yourself on the internet.
Thanks, Jesse.
As you guys know, I'm Fog, and mine is not nearly as in-depth, but it's still as scary, in my opinion, or at least scary a little bit. So we were talking about earlier with the Bitcoin wallet, how it's a really long and complicated thing, and most of us know, and if you don't already, you should. Don't use simple passwords, something that is guessable or brute forceable. However, in my infinite ignorance and stupidity, I have a keyboard with macro buttons on it, as most of us do, and I had decided that my really long, elaborate, you know, capital letters, numbers, exclamation points, all that stuff, password was set to a macro. Well, I had forgotten to change my macro to the game that I was playing while I was streaming, and went to use one of my macros for chat. I think it was follow me or something like that. And with like 26 people watching, which is not a lot, but it's enough, had posted it. And I realized as soon as I hit the button, I did. And as opposed to bugging out, I thought, okay, play it cool. We're just gonna type, you know, let that chat kind of roll up. And it wasn't in the Twitch chat, it was in the game chat. And okay, cool, no one said anything, I thought it was fine. Okay, so I didn't think much of it. Well, shortly thereafter, I started noticing PayPal charges that were tied to my, because I was also using the same password for everything because I'm an idiot. Yeah, so I started noticing, and I really got lucky. I started noticing PayPal charges for like $1.86 for U.S. Postal Service. I hadn't shipped anything. So I start scrolling up. It had been going on for like 3 weeks. $2 here, $2 there, and it was out of Ohio. I'm in Atlanta. I'm like, okay, so this is not a big deal. And then I started really getting paranoid and started checking like my Spotify, my bank, and everything else. And obviously I contacted PayPal, went through the process of changing all these passwords, removed that macro. That was good. And learned right then and there that don't put passwords where it's easy to unmistakably hit it. Don't keep them on your clipboard. Don't keep them really anywhere but your head. And that was the extent of my stupidity and just a moment's bad decision. Because the time and the fear, really, the fear of, oh, I've screwed up and there's nothing I can do about it, because once it's on the internet, it's forever. You think you deleted it, but it's still there. And that was my experience. And then briefly, I don't think I had a chance to talk with you about this. Many moons ago, long before I streamed, I had a Magic the Gathering online account. And I had like $600 worth of draft tickets and cards and everything else, and was playing and logged in one day and it had been completely wiped. And back then, and this was long before I streamed, stuff like that, that made me quit playing Magic the Gathering online because there was shame and fear of those two things, and I just never reapproached it. So, you know, that's the moral of my story is don't copy paste your passwords.
It's important, actually.
Yeah, we've all been. That's how my Domino's Pizza account got compromised recently.
It's a very easy mistake to make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
had to get a new credit card. It was annoying. So, yeah, I've been targeted because of who I was. So I spent 10 years as a U.S. government employee and working specifically in the intel community and in law enforcement. And just by the nature of my job, there are lots of folks out there, specifically other governments, that are trying very hard to get information about U.S. government employees, people that work in law enforcement and intelligence. In 2000, I think it was the end of 2013, I actually had all my personal information stolen twice. So once was when another country's intel service compromised 20 million records from the Office of Personnel Management They're responsible for managing all of the HR documentation for federal employees. So everything on my job application when I applied to be an agent was taken, and a bunch of other HR information off to some other government. Then about 6 months later, a company called Anthem, who provides health insurance for a lot of the federal government, was compromised. And all of my healthcare information, I don't know, they never confirmed all the records that were taken as far as I know, but presumably all of my healthcare information was taken too. And I was doubly victimized because I was leading the National Instant Response Program for the Bureau at the time, so I lost several weekends and late nights investigating these cases as well. But luckily, I have not suffered any consequences I'm aware of from this PI being taken. But it was a lesson for me in a couple of things. One is not understanding who has my data when I can't control it. So I wasn't aware that these two organizations had so much information about me and that it wasn't secured as well as it could have been. The other is when I do have a choice, like when I use cloud services or when I use subscription services, is being very careful about what data I provide to those organizations, making sure I take extra steps to segregate things across them so that if you find information in one place, it doesn't carry over. But it's made me very much more aware of where my data is and where I'm vulnerable. In places, a lot of cases I just can't control. It's a consequence of doing business on the internet these days.
Yeah, thanks. So the last person that we have speaking is Dr. Lupo. So hopefully the sound works here, or we'll have to. Come on, honey, you gotta play. Dude, I'm gonna have to jump and play it and then reopen. Sorry.
There you go.
Nope, she doesn't want to play. You got any secrets? How about now? You want me to try to turn up the volume on my side?
Well, that's not playing.
Let's just play.
Oh, that's not us.
Are you sure?
Okay, I think you only captured in full screen mode, right?
It's a good thing you work in IT.
Calculated.
I'm not working right now. But I'm trying, it's hard not to jump in.
Hey,
Same
look,
way
I'm more than
pictures.
happy. It's actually on as loud as it gets, so let's try it again and see if we can't get a little audio. If not, I will post it.
I hear it.
There's other audio coming through that's not mine, though.
Are we allowed to do that?
All of us.
I can't tell. Is it this tab?
Yes. I don't think,
Tell me which one is mute, because I can't see it.
it doesn't have mute. Just go into the video.
I got an idea.
We need a volunteer from the
Yay!
Bring my mouse back. Fingers crossed. He and I spent a lot of time on this, so it'd be really disappointed if it doesn't work. But like I said, if I have to, I'll post it online and we'll find a way to share the link. I don't think I can.
put the microphone on the laptop speaker.
And PowerPoint crashes. Welcome to the world of Microsoft. No, you don't have to find me a problem. A way to solve it. Just reboot, man. You can't because it's pulled through the, now it's just starting wherever it wants.
It
All right.
won't do that because then we won't be able to see it because of the HDMI.
Yay.
Once my wife is all done with what she's handling upstairs, I got kind of an interesting thing for you, okay? So stick around, don't go anywhere. You want to see this? Hi, Dr. Lupo. If I'm not there, or maybe if wherever people are sitting is up there, sorry I couldn't make it. I'm probably doing something stupid. Awesome, I have no idea. All depends. My schedule's crazy busy, but I wanted to talk about my experiences with kind of keeping private information secure and how things have bit us in the past. So Fortnite started to take off, and my viewership started to climb like crazy, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Like it's wonderful. I mean, I've been able to see and go places that I never thought I would. The other side of that, though, is that people will have come out of the woodwork to try and get to people who are wrong, myself included. In March, my house was swatted 3 times. I got a donation on stream through Streamlabs, through PayPal. That was just like somebody held down an F key on their keyboard to like spam characters. And then it was immediately charged back. And what that does is there are methods through PayPal where you can reveal account information because of the chargeback instead of just like the forward-facing like business name. And through that, they were able to potentially obtain my home address. Now, the next day, so one day before incident number 1, somebody at about 11:30 at night ordered pizza to our house. We didn't order pizza. My wife was asleep. But I was like, I saw him, and I went down the door, and I kind of barely opened it. I said, you know, what's going on? He's like, hey, you guys ordered pizza. I'm like, no, I did not. Thank you. And I basically just closed the door on him. At that point is when things in my head clicked 100%, because my expectation was the next day it was going to happen. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Now, people that do that kind of thing, they're trying to get a rise out of the content creator, the streamer, whatever you want to call people in my profession, I guess. They're looking to create a scene. They want the whole SWAT team with a big battering ram knock down the door in the background of the camera and have all the drama. That's not how it played out. The next night, I'd start on night stream. I usually start around 7:30 at that time. My wife came downstairs about 8:15, pulled the headphone off my ear and whispered in my ear that the police were here or they were on their way, and to come upstairs as soon as I could. I was like, okay. And so I put my Be Right Back screen up, went up there, and they had pound on the door. There were two cop cars, an ambulance, and like a fire truck. I think 4 police officers total, all with weapons drawn, but nobody that was going to knock the door. That's a big piece to know, is that it's not like this crazy over the top. Yeah, it's pretty big for the middle neighborhood at 8 o'clock at night, for that many lights and stuff rolling to a suburb. But they knocked on the door and yelled, "Open up!" All police, and my wife was laying on the couch, was upstairs, and she met them at the door and opened it. And the guy at the front had his weapon drawn, pointed to the door, and his flashlight up and stuff, as they should have. And they immediately were like, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine." And so we found out some information. I talked to him after I came upstairs. Whoever had called had said that I had stabbed my wife to death and I was going to shoot myself. We talked for a little bit, told him who I was. I pulled my stream up on my phone, even though it's VR back stream. It's like, I'm literally live right now. There's, however many people watching. Can I go back to work? And so they got some information about me, and I went back to work. It took maybe like 10 minutes. Came back downstairs. I didn't say a thing. You don't want to give the person trying to get a reaction. It takes it away. It then happened the following week again, and this time it was different because since we had prepped them, they marked our house on a list and said, hey, this is a potential SWAT target, that mind. They still have to do a wellness check, so they'll still send one police officer out to basically say, hey, you guys all right? The same kind of story, and then put the beer bag screen up again, went and talked to him for 2 minutes, my wife finished the conversation, and I went back to work. And so I didn't say anything again because again we were like, I don't want to give anything. But at that point, stress levels were pretty high, especially for Samantha, because it was just like, yeah, we have a kid, and it's uncomfortable to think that people, like somebody out there that wants to try and get a reaction, knows where we live, so it's settling. I get that. I don't blame them. And we agreed that if it happened a third time, we would tell people and we'd basically be like, hey, you should probably stop because nothing's going to happen. You're wasting time. So it happened a third time in March. Really grabbed the back screen up again, go and talk to them, come back. I win the game, and at the end, I finish right afterwards by saying, hey, by the way, just a second ago, it was the third time we had police called to our house. And I told people, and I was able to turn that negativity from that person into a weapon against them.
So that was 48 minutes. I did the editing to get it down to 6. He did an amazing job. So I want you to know he seriously cared about making sure you all heard the second half of what he said, which is everything I cut out, but that we're going to talk about here. And that's getting into what can you do to protect yourself. So we're going to go through recommendations, things that you guys should do. This is the critical part of this, so we're going to try to get through it before we're done here. So what we were trying to do is have everyone take slides and go through them, but it's tough because there's no monitor over there, so they can't really see what the heck we're doing. Jesse, we're talking about good quality software. Like, you're somebody who you and I had a conversation about this. Why should you use a good quality, trustworthy, paid for protection software?
So there's various types of ways that you can protect yourself with two-factor authentication and using a software such as LastPass, which I highly recommend as a password manager, and also actual paid antivirus and anti-malware protection, because when you pay these companies that have proven within these cybersecurity the world, like the community, for years and years and years, that we do this research, we are committed to making sure that you are safe rather than just trying to make a quick buck off of you. And we sold this software to this company because we got this money off of it, and lo and behold, our very next 32-bit client of our cleaner software had a Trojan horse that was attached to that client, and it infected a bunch of government computers. I'm talking about CCleaner and Avast, for instance. I used CCleaner forever, and then when they got bought by Avast, I was like, oh, okay, well, Avast is all right, right? And no. So also, you're paying for the ability for researchers such as, and workers such as Bob and Steve to be able to continue to do these things and be able to keep protecting you and the whole ecosystem of everyone that you're connected to, because it's not just your computer. You can infect other people that are on your network. So your husband's computer, your little brother's computer, and so on. You can get your PlayStation compromised because you're all on this network. And then you go out to the internet and then you infect your friends because you connect with all these different applications together. So it becomes this huge thing, very similar to getting a vaccine. It's herd immunity. You want to be able to protect everyone from these horrible things.
Cool.
So,
well, keep the roll going.
Yes. So two-factor authentication, I cannot recommend it enough. It is one of the most fantastic pieces of security that I use, and everyone should, because it's really easy. You can start off with just getting a Google Authenticator app or Authy, and then you start signing yourself up for your Gmail and your Twitch account and your Twitter account and your Instagram account and your Facebook account and your Discord account, and all of these legitimate programs have these abilities to protect yourself with these cybersecurity credentials with two-factor authentication. And I would recommend you can go above and beyond and start getting a physical key where you plug in like this USB into your computer, and that's how your computer actually boots up. It'll just get to the BIOS screen, and if you don't have that in, then it won't get to where you log into your computer. Also, put a password on your computer at home, even if you're the only person there. What if someone steals your computer while you're out, like God forbid, like a robbery or something, and they take your computer, they're able to just power it on, and then they get all of your information. They have all the saved passwords that are in your Chrome browser and all that stuff. That is a possibility as well, too. It's scary stuff, and like, it won't happen to me, but what if it does? So it's just another, like, it just takes one weekend to kind of just think about it, put these protections on, and then you feel safer in the end.
Yeah, I hope you guys all use Twitch two-factor, right? It's there, it's free, and like Jesse mentioned, all these sites use it for, it's there, it's free. Just set it up, and it's not that inconvenient because you can have it remember for 30 days, but you just said something that I have to comment on that's super important. Your home PC that doesn't have a password, or you think, no, 1, 2, 3, it's just me, right? There are Trojans and other pieces of malware that can take more advantage of your computer if you have a weak password. So
Because you're the administrator on that account, and then they can
And it
start
can take
installing
over.
things. Yeah. And, oh, gosh.
So Fog, take us into passwords.
Oh, well, I'll tell you.
So why is it important to use different passwords in email?
Well, from what I've heard and read on the internet, allegedly, if you don't have multiple different passwords, preferably that don't make sense at all, just gibberish, then if once they have one, you're completely compromised. And even if it's, they've gotten into, say, your PayPal, now you have to worry about, are they in my bank? Are they in my credit card? Are they in my phone bill? Are they in my, and unfortunately / fortunately, we live in a digital age where all it takes is that if you're silly enough or ignorant enough to have just that one password for convenience or laziness, which was my case, your laziness and inconvenience factor will cost you a lot more headache than you probably understand it will. And mine was a very minor case. And not only that, and not to be dramatic or anything, I've already got real bad anxiety. I don't want to be laying awake at night staring at the ceiling wondering, oh, but do they have everything? Do I have that password? All that stuff. So use a different password for everything. It's pretty important.
So to just piggyback off of that, like I was saying a little bit ago, LastPass is a really decent alternative to those sort of things. You have a very strong master password. Of course, you could get that compromised if you do, accidentally type it into somewhere.
Wow. Savage.
No, I've done that before too. Like, you're just typing and you're like, wait, where? Oh no, it's on my second monitor. Oh no, that's in a Twitch chat right now. Like, oh, just keep spamming. It was just gibberish, yeah. So,
You don't
what's
know how
really
many times I've accidentally Googled my password.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it happens. So you want to rely on those things, but at the same time, like for some of your very important passwords, so like maybe your PayPal, your personal bank, and your Gmail, have those be very strong and like randomized, but have those memorized. So if something does get compromised, like LastPass or any other sort of password manager you use, you're not locked out of everything and you like, oh, I can't get into anything. No, it's okay. I still have my Gmail, which means I can reset my bank, which means I can still cookie cut, like, breadcrumb trail my way like back into safety. But that also means other people can too.
Yeah, the other email addies is inconvenient, but it's incredibly important. You can protect your passwords, like we just said, with two-factor auth. So you really need the complex password for places that won't give you two-factor auth or can't. Having different email addresses, albeit inconvenient, one is still free from like 1,000 different sites, and it's not that hard to have that and do that. In the interest of time, I'm going to just spin this. We get through all of them a little bit. So.
Yeah.
This is a big one. If you listen to Jesse and Lupo, this was one that he was like, you got to tell him this. Use 2 P.O. boxes. If you're going to really take your stream serious, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff with streaming, have one for the stream stuff, have one for your personal stuff.
And
right?
have them in 2 different towns away from where you actually live. So
Yeah.
like New York City, for instance, I don't make sure that it's anywhere near where my actual neighborhood is. And I've had people ask me, oh, you live in the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's where my P.O. box is. But it's in a completely different borough. So there's that kind of separation. Yeah, it's annoying. I have to go there every like month or 2, and it's like annoying. But it's for my safety, because I did have someone who was annoyed that I didn't go there and get my stuff, and just trying to protect yourself that way.
Absolutely. This was actually one I'd never thought of. So Lupo doesn't even own a cell phone. He has a cell phone provided to him by a friend. Now you have to figure out who that friend is to figure out what the cell phone is that the friend has that he uses, which is why it's so hard to get in touch with him. Steve had a good idea with this too, is you could get burner phones. You know, that might be tough for your personal life, but having a friend get a phone is genius. Oh, he also said, make sure they know, don't let a family member get it.
Yeah, same last name.
This is one that I thought of you as I wrote this, but it's really important. Don't share anything that you wouldn't share with a criminal on your stream, right? I have the few people I have that come to my stream are really have become my friends. Like, I actually know them, but that's a mistake, because you will tend to share things that you wouldn't share with just anyone. Well, that's not the message. Don't share anything you wouldn't share with a known criminal. I am going to rob you. What should you tell me? Nothing.
And
So just be smart when it comes to that.
yeah, and for you folks that don't stream, this also is true for guild chat, voice comms, talking with your clan buddies. Unless you know who they are in real life, don't share anything with them you wouldn't want your worst enemy to know.
Yeah, absolutely. We've all mentioned this already. Shut your mics, shut your cameras when you're doing something you don't want other people to see. Lupo has a finger keyboard camera thing, which I thought was great, because when Fortnite first started, I found him and I was watching him. I was like, oh, that's how he's doing it. No wonder I suck. It didn't help. I still suck. But he has had that thing on while he's chatting with Ninja, and he's had people go back in the video and go slow and watch everything he said to Ninja and come back in the stream and go, dudes, he's about to do this with Ninja. And it's like, dude, that was so inappropriate, because that thing he's doing is in real life. So shut your cameras off. I mean, I do this all the time. So I have my son here and his friend, and sometimes we're talking to each other, and sometimes he's yelling at me or I'm yelling at him because we missed a headshot, and I mute us both, even for that, because people shouldn't know you're arguing with your kids. It's this is a bit challenging, but you definitely have a separate credit card. Tie all your online stuff to a separate credit card, and don't let them convince you to get a big balance, all right, a big credit limit. Get a $300 credit limit credit card, keep that in your pocket. That's your online presence, right? You may have something personal use for Amazon or something else you use, but for anything else, try to keep it small. If it gets compromised, then you don't have to worry about it. On the flip side of that, credit card companies don't hold you accountable for the most part anyway. It's just a pain in the rear end. This one is kind of big. A lot of people want everybody, hey, I'm going to Starbucks right now, tweet. Then someone's at Starbucks and go, hey man, how's it going? You're like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Especially if you have families, significant others, you're gonna be there, and you do it after. Hey, I just got back from Starbucks, suck it. Right? I mean, you have to balance the community thing with the non-community side of it. The flip side to that is, unless you want them to be there, you're doing a meet and greet or something. I'm not telling you don't do that.
So, yeah, actually this echoes something that Dr. Lupo said in his video. I have been on the law enforcement end of going into somebody's house uninvited to either arrest them or conduct a search warrant. I would not want to be there risking my life and theirs if it was a mistake. So, and I think you've had luck with this too, Bob, where talk to your local precinct that you're streaming, let them know what you do, spend a half an hour educating the local sergeant on what swatting is and what the risk is, to reduce the chances that you'll be a victim of something like that. No cop that I've ever met wants to be a part of a swatting incident, especially one that could end in violence. So they would be happy to work with you, understand what you do, and try and avoid a potentially violent confrontation in the future.
I also recommend that if you've lived with family any time that you've streamed, like I have, or in-laws, like I have, also talk to those local police departments and say, hey, I don't live here anymore, but I am a streamer, and this house might be a target, so please call me beforehand. Or, here's their phone number as well, too. Call the house, and if they don't answer, and let them know that, let the family that lives there know. I've been having to do that for 3 or 4 years now. It makes me feel safer because I am safer.
and your police departments will love you because a lot of them don't even know what this is. So the minute you tell them and they get a swatting call for someone else, they're going to have it in their heads. Like when I did talk to my sergeant, which is funny because I've been streaming for years and I never did it. And I was like, hey, dude, I forgot to mention this. And he was like, oh, Christ, you're one of those? No, that's not what he said. He said, oh, man, I'm really glad you told me. We actually have a list. And I live in a nowhere town, and they have a list. So I was like, dude, introduce me. We'll do a meetup.
That's a perfect way to start your
Right?
your town's meetup group.
Right?
White list meet and greet.
White
So
list.
I want us all to kind of just quickly, I want any one of you who knows anything about credit monitoring, just quickly let everybody know what that means, because there's free and there's paid for.
Yes, so there is free crediting monitoring service. I'm sure a lot of you, especially with the whole hack and leak that happened earlier, this year, last year?
Every year?
Every year. Well, the really big one where like 1 out of 3 Americans have their personally identifiable financial information out there on like the dark web right now. And they made like freezing your credit like free or whatever from the big 3 credit bureaus.
Experience.
Experian, yeah.
Experian, yeah.
So, you can do something like Credit Karma. It's like a cool little app. It like monitors your credit, lets you know what your credit score is, and it technically is, we'll let you know if like anything seems unusual. But it's a free app. It's not going to work very hard to give you information. It's mostly going to tell you, hey, TransUnion got hacked again, or whatever. And it's not going to tell you like personal information. So that's why you want to, yet again, go with a paid service that will give you personalized, detailed information and will actually talk to you as a client and say, hey, where have you worked before? Where have you gotten your health insurance before? Where do you think you like have this information? Do you want to put your spouse under this coverage? What about your children? And spread it out that way, and you actually get an all-encompassing coverage because you are paying for it, and then you are paying for people to continue to do this service and make it better, and so on and so forth, such as with LifeLock.
Full disclosure, we own LifeLock.
Well,
I
not
did
me
not
personally,
ask
so.
her to say that. I don't, she didn't have
He
to
didn't
say-
ask.
I did not.
But I really like it. Like,
Just
it's
to
great.
add to this, I had the fortune to meet Frank Abagnale several years ago. If you've not heard of him, they made a movie called Catch Me If You Can. Leonardo DiCaprio played him. And he now he actually works on the good side. He's trying to help people avoid fraud. And I asked him, what's the number one thing you can do to protect yourself against financial fraud? And his answer was credit monitoring. Because you know right away when somebody's trying to use your identity to get credit. And it works now. It's really good. Any of the paid services are going to tell you right away when somebody's trying to leverage your credit.
Yeah, and I can't talk about LifeLock because I work for the company. So I'll just tell you, like, my usage of it is awesome. I have my parents covered as well. I get text messages because my father has been on a get credit card spree lately. So I get this thing, did you get a Home Depot card? My phone rings. I call him up. I go, dude, you get a Home Depot card? Oh, yeah. I was like, why? You already have one. He's like, they said I can have 3. I'm like, so
30% discount.
no music? Do we get a little? Nah, damn it, the music's not working. Anyway, so I want to leave a few minutes for questions, so please, and if you have a specific person you want to answer, just throw the name out so we're not fishing.
So first, I just want to say thank you so much. As a gamer and having been a victim of many different types of attacks online, I just want to say thank you because I think this is a long time coming. Many gamers I don't think pay attention to how much they can be targeted. Just a couple things. You touched on this. We have tremendous hardware, which means lots of resources, which could be used for mining or attacking others, right? And then routers. Obviously, we've been hearing a lot about this. in
My
the news.
router was compromised 2 days before coming to
Dude,
TwitchCon.
so I mean,
Update your
so
firmware.
many.
Wait,
Yeah.
what does that
I just
mean?
threw it away.
Or just set it on fire.
If there's an update
UPnP
available.
should be on LAN side,
Don't
not
buy
WAN
cheap
side also.
Yep.
But yeah,
Don't
I'm
get it
also
from
a
your ISP.
Steve Gibson fan, so security now all the way. You guys should totally
Nice.
listen to that if you want to know what the real threats are like out there. But I really want to see more about OS hardening and PF sense or PF configurations for streamers. Like, I do that already, and I probably could help others, but like professionals, you guys are already doing this. You're in NetSec, so it would be awesome to get information from you guys. And
We
like,
will
I
take
do-
that away, and I will find a way to generate something and let it go out to the community.
I
That would be
do
awesome.
Yep.
Tech Tuesdays interviews and stuff like that. So like we can talk about that and like stream it and then make a blog post and all
Yeah,
of that lovely
with,
stuff.
Connect with her, and
Yeah.
if she needs technical stuff
Yeah,
from Steve and I, I'll back it up.
Cool. And then anybody else, hit me up on Twitter, Steve_OMG. Because if you guys are in the same boat as me, like, yeah, no, because we should.
No,
all
no,
be
I'm
working
good with
together.
Yeah,
shameless plugs.
absolutely, absolutely.
If I could, I'd let you all just walk up to the mic and shameless plug.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, thank you again for doing this. This has been awesome. Quick question. So, how have you handled like conversations with family members? If I'm like, hey, brother, that's like playing this game with me. Like my brother and I play a lot together. Like, have any of you approached like family members before? Like, hey, you need to be like more conscious of my identity and not say certain things, or like how have you handled those conversations? Or interested to hear like, mom, stop talking in the background. You know, that type of stuff. Like.
Yeah, I think that, and you guys add to this, but a good angle is specifically go after the cybersecurity side of it, right?
Yep.
Hey, I'm streaming. There's a bunch of strangers watching me. The more you talk to me in the familiar, the more chance you have of the whole family getting screwed over,
Yeah.
right? I mean, just let's be blunt. We're all friends in this room, right? No one's gonna come in my house and steal my passwords.
Yeah.
So honestly, we have that conversation a lot. Where I stream is in my gaming room, which is right in my house. So half the family's sitting there, half the family's playing with me, and I need this, and the bird's squawking, and you know the bird says words, so I just can't stop him. But we've had the conversation, and the way to do it is honestly take the cybersecurity angle. There's one thing that you got to keep in mind: don't spread FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And this is why I had everyone here show up. So you guys would have real world examples, not, I'm gonna scare you, there's bad guys. No, there are bad guys. You can protect yourself and have that conversation. Don't just have the, hey, don't do this side, have the, hey, here's the benefit for us. You know, I can keep doing this, but really you have to do that. And if they don't listen, mute them.
Exactly. Yep.
I have a button on my stream deck, when Discord off. Sorry guys, you're not respectful. I love you, go to bed.
Well, and to add to that, I've actually had to have a conversation with people. I had to remove my streaming setup from a common area of the house to a dedicated room for that very reason, because, and I don't look at it as anything as being paranoid. I look at it as being cautious and preemptive. Don't talk to me about local landmarks, or because you'd be surprised the amount of energy and time weirdos on the internet, for lack of a better term, will go back and watch however old of a stream and put together, oh, they said this street, and then they were talking about this as being, oh yeah, it's only half a mile from there. You leave them breadcrumbs, they'll put together a cookie.
And then they look at your Pokemon Ghost gifts that you send them, and then they're like, oh, well, you live in this neighborhood, right?
Yeah, so have the conversation, but take that angle. That might work.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hello, this question is for Jesse.
Hi.
I have a persistent stalker who has created over 100 accounts on Twitch. And my question is more along the lines of what can we do besides just banning every
Yeah.
single account?
Cyberstalking is a crime, and you should report it to your local police department.
There's
And
several of us that he has targeted, and we have all reported it to our local police precincts, but unfortunately, because he's a well-meaning stalker, they can't do anything for us.
Oh, so
because
similar to me. Yeah.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Meckel.
Yes, okay,
Can this
so.
be escalated?
If it's crossing state lines, it technically could be a federal crime, so you could reach out to your local FBI office.
Okay.
I would reach out to my local FBI office
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
because you
that-
don't know if they're crossing state lines.
Well, I know. Well,
Yeah,
he's
the-
not very computer savvy, so
Yeah.
I know he is state lines cross.
There you go.
And I know a lot of information, fortunately for him. But
That's,
yeah.
Incidentally, that's why FBI has the mission for cybercrime, is because almost every cybercrime goes across two states.
Yeah,
So-
you should report that.
Roger.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Absolutely,
it's
you're
not
welcome.
much we can do. That's a legal thing. Like at that point, you need actual
in there.
protection.
That's
yeah.
not good. Yeah. I'm not sure who's first anymore. Should I just go flipping?
I figured we
Okay.
were just gonna flip flop.
Okay, awesome.
I'll go, but I don't. Like,
It's okay. We'll just go ping, ping, ping. ping.
Okay. So this is a question for Jesse again. So as a streamer who's preparing to form an LLC, it
Yes.
scares me a little bit that you have to have a physical address.
It depends on your
You-
state as well too.
Okay. So do you have any recommendations of a way that we can do that safer, or like maybe we could
You can
incorporate or
technically
something else?
Register a business at like a WeWork building, and say this is where I work for a month or something, like rent it for a little bit, like just a desk, a cubicle or something, and then that's it, and then have all mail forwarded to that P.O. box. So basically when you first set up your LLC, they need like a physical address. And it just makes sense, like, well, I do this in my home, so let me make this my home. No, obviously. But once you've set it up, the next month, like you get all of your confirmation and everything, you can switch it all over to a P.O. box afterwards. So
Okay, so it's
depending
a
on your
while.
state, like they all do it differently.
Some PO boxes give you a physical address.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's how I
That
did it.
too.
Yeah. hmm
Okay, perfect. All right, yeah, you just
So
freaked me out a
check
little bit
like
there for a second.
UPS, the United States
Yeah.
Postal Service. Like some of them will give you like a real like 514 Main Street. Like it looks like a real address, and then like you're able to do it.
Yeah, I've worked with UPS stores to get a physical address for PO boxes, so
Oh, okay.
it satisfies that requirement.
Cool.
Yeah, check the I don't work for UPS, but you should check them because they have those boxes and most of them will give you a physical address.
Perfect.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
So I will own, I am the chronic oversharer, so
Huh.
that's why
Me
I was here.
too.
But my question is actually more about the hardware. So I'm very computer stupid. Like I have a laptop that like that is my life, and I just got a rig. And I know Steve, you were talking about all of these different like attacks that can be done, and my thought process is, but how do you know? Because I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what I'm looking for. I wouldn't even like.
We have a solution.
Yeah.
So this is the
No,
swag
really.
that-
I mean,
no
yeah.
joke.
Oh.
So my router was compromised. I actually had no idea. We threw it away because I was upgrading anyway. We put in the new router, and literally in 10 seconds, my buddy and I are sitting there, attack.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just stupid. Norton blocked every single one of them. So I'm going to give everyone who wants one, you don't have to take one, I'm going to give, it's for 10 computers for a year. And because there's not that many of you, I can give you 2. Don't use them at the same time unless you have 20 computers because you're going to waste them. Use this one this year. When it says, hey, it's time to renew, use this one the second year. I get you 2 free years. Grab yours now. Install it on every rig you own.
So the reason that works is
No, stop, please.
the folks that are doing those types of attacks
Dylan.
aren't really sophisticated. They're good at getting their malware out there. The research community figures it out pretty quickly, and so, you know, usually within hours of these attacks going live, somebody figures it out and they push out definitions. So your paid AV is going to detect those pretty quickly.
Sorry, I missed that, but I sure was brilliant.
It was really, really. It's probably the smartest thing I've said all day.
Hey, my question relates to the new way, I guess, to get people's information. Happened to Tifu and a bunch of big people. Basically, they call your cell phone provider, pretend to be you, and they get access to your account. I called my cell phone provider. I set up a specific passcode,
Smart.
and then I decided to test them, and I called back, and then they let me into my account without any
Did
of
you
my
use
information.
the same phone number, like that
No.
cell phone? Oh,
Who
wow.
was your provider? Spill it.
AT&T.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Okay, get away.
Yeah.
And-
So that's really interesting. So T-Mobile does the same thing. I
Yeah.
use T-Mobile,
Yeah.
and they asked me if I want to set up a PIN.
Yeah.
I did. The next time I called, I couldn't remember my PIN. They would not let me into my account.
Okay.
Then I had to like take a minute, remember it. They let me in,
Yeah.
but there was nothing I could do to get around that.
Another reason,
I use T-Mobile, and I experienced the same thing. I recommend them.
Okay.
yeah, another reason to use separate address for your cell phone or use a friend's name, because they'll just use your personal information to authenticate you.
Yeah.
And if you are using the same information that somebody could take from another location, then it's pretty easy to get past customer support.
So if someone else's information, that's not public. So
yeah,
it's
if you
much
use like
better.
a PO box for
Yeah.
separate your address from your stream information, and,
Yeah.
it can protect you against that to some degree.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate
You're welcome. Speed round.
Okay, so I was going to ask, does anybody have any suggestions for a antivirus program other than Avast? Oh, look,
Solved.
I think I have an answer.
Solved.
Okay, so
We are
building-
biased.
Building off that, what about malware? I know what I'm using right now, but
Norton will take care of
all the
everything.
things? Okay.
I'm not even joking. If I before I worked for the company, Norton was a piece of crap. Okay?
Yeah.
Wait,
I'm
that's-
not kidding. We got
That
a
was
new
when I was a
leader.
developer on the Norton team.
But you quit to go to the FBI.
But not because the
of that.
product was bad.
Listen, Norton was challenging for gamers, okay?
Yeah.
It slowed our systems down. It ate a lot of resources. It didn't seem like it was doing anything because of a couple of things that I can't tell you about that actually lowered the protection because of things. We got a new leader about 6 years ago. He decided this was the most important thing we could do. In the entire company, Norton has to be good. And over the course of the first 4 years of him working, he completely transformed the product. When I joined the company, hey, free Norton, I'm using it, right? I didn't really have a choice. I threw it on all my personal stuff. And it's been unbelievably well performing. All my parents, everybody has it. There's a new technology, and I'm only sharing this because you asked. There's a technology that's in Norton called Reputation. What Reputation does is it doesn't care if it knows what the file is. It only cares what it knows about it. So let's say there's a brand new update to Hearthstone, and that file comes down. It's going to let it because it knows who the developer is. It knows Blizzard. It's a signed application. It's got all these different pieces of information that they can validate is a good piece of software. You download, I'm going to get you free bits. And you download that app, and it goes, hey, I've never seen this before. I don't know that developer. I'm just going to stop it. And it sends you a note going, hey, I stopped this because it's bad. What's wrong with you? So it doesn't rely on knowing what the bad guys are doing. It relies on knowing things that look good and look bad. And the thing is, we've been doing it for so long that we have, I don't know what the new number is. It's got to be like 30-something billion files recorded that anytime you try to install something, if the reputation goes, that doesn't look good, you can usurp it and go, no, I know this is good. Apple sent me an update. It was brand new, literally within minutes. Yeah, man, we just pushed out an update to fix that. Why don't you get it? Norton was like, I know Apple, but this thing's literally seconds old. Should I run it? I was like, yeah, run the damn thing. And it worked fine. So honestly, you'll be in a good way. Uninstall anything you already have, and Norton actually will go backwards in time. If you're already compromised, it will ferret that out and start to clean it. Also, if you guys get in trouble, this is a full licensed version. Call the 800 number. They will help you. If you have actually somehow gotten compromised, they will clean your machine.
Wow.
Okay? Keep in mind, a lot of attackers now just say, is Norton on machine? If so, don't bother. Wow. We've seen the code. We've got snippets. So you're all set. You're covered.
Thank you for restoring my faith in Norton.
Yeah. Go use it. All right? Go use it.
So my name is Pastor Susie. I have a very unique scenario. So on top of being a streamer, I'm also a pastor of a church for gamers on Twitch.
Cool.
It's exclusively online, but in 2019, we're opening our first physical location with a LAN center in it. And we want everyone on the internet to know where it is because we want them to join, but the dangers of that, obviously. So what would be your advice, besides calling the local precinct, what we could do to protect our church and our facility, besides just kind of calling the police and let them know?
Hire a professional security
Yep.
person to configure everything for you.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a security networking professional and then a physical building security professional service. Yeah.
Any tips on where I would even find one of those people?
Get us after.
Okay.
Get us after. We'll
Perfect.
take
Thank
care
you.
of you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, my name is Jess. I'm a streamer, and I take this very seriously because I myself have had people who have found my information, not necessarily through these methods, but more through social engineering, and I'm a little bit concerned about how content creators share their own information, not knowing what info can be used to track you down, and I typed this because I'm really nervous.
It's okay.
Like exposing your city and state by using a wish list, sharing your full legal name on stream, telling people your birthday or separately your birthday and how old you are, leaving metadata on photos that you post to Twitter or Discord that may not scrub that metadata, and if you have your location services on, that might be included in those photos. Third-party companies that scrape data and compile it for sale approximately every 3 months, and how to get rid of that. And of course, all of the other many ways. What other information other than what you've already shared would you caution people from sharing on their streams? Do you have suggestions for services and solutions on how to get rid of what is already out there?
Do you guys have any suggestions on how to erase yourself?
I wish I did.
Yeah. So it's a great question.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous. So the list of recommendations was like 500 slides, right? I had to pare it down to get it done, and we're probably going to be kicked out of the room soon, right, guys? Yeah. So there's a lot of things, and it's a balance. It's hard. So one, you shouldn't have location services on for your pictures. If you don't remember where you took the picture, come on. Because you will always put yourself at risk when you do that on a plethora of reasons. You don't need location. If you actually want someone to know location, type it when you post a picture, right? I was at the Grand Canyon. Shut that crap off.
Unless you're a fugitive. 'Cause that's
Yes,
really
if you're a
easy way to
fugitive,
track
please leave that on.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, you should go back to everyone is a criminal. What happens if I say this, right? And it's a challenge. This is not an easy thing to do. I think if you look at some of the remediations and mitigations that the panel has shared, like you have a wish list, but you have a P.O. box 2 towns over, that's kind of safer, right, than having it be a wish list that sends things to your home. There's some stuff you have no control over. The metadata that's scraped by you, that's taken from all the other things you do, be it Google, Facebook, Insta, or any of the other services, there's not much you can do. If you want, you could actually move to the European Union, and then once you're there and a citizen, demand all of them erase everything, and they have to now, right? GDPR, it's hell in a handbasket, but it does its job.
Yes.
For companies, it's rough.
Yeah.
The point of the matter is this is about being diligent. Be mindful. Try to consider that I have to balance building a community versus staying safe. Take some of these recommendations, and honestly, you can, well, except for him, he doesn't stream as much as I think he'd be good at it. You could always come to any one of our streams or our Discords, and you can ask us off-channel anything you want. That's a big thing for me, is a lot of my community is just built around people who don't know where to go. So come, I'll answer anything I can. Your questions are complex and don't have a simple answer. I can't answer them right now. This is like a lot of things. There's a lot of things you'd have to do.
I think the good takeaway, though, is that security is about risk management, so you can't protect yourself from everything all the time. You want to do what you can that will reduce your risk, and at some point you have to accept the risk that's left. There's no way to be 100% perfectly secure, but being aware of all those things, and those are all things that I've used to track down bad guys. So it's you're right. There are ways to locate you, and you can do what you can to remove that stuff. But at the end of the day, like you have to live your life, right? And if you're constantly fearful of what could happen, it's just going to get in the way. So.
Yep.
And building on what you said earlier, talking about if sometimes malicious people or whatever you want to call it, hackers, whatnot, will see, oh, it's got Norton on it, don't even bother. It goes back to kind of like the bullying thing and standing up for yourself. If a target is harder than the next target to go after, generally speaking, they're going to go after who's the easier target, because if you put up a fight, there's somebody out there who won't.
Yep,
And that's
that
just
is
how the
so
mentality
true.
works.
That's a strong point.
So I'm very clear about.
We're done. Yep. So we're going to take one last question and we're done.
Okay. I'm also a security professional. I would love to put it in a pitch for my company, but I would leave you with one thing, that these recommendations are really good. One thing I didn't hear was defense in depth, which means use multiple things, even though you think you have that area covered. Use multiple layers because you may need it one day.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. What that basically means is, like, don't plug your internet directly into your computer, right? Have a router, have a firewall. You probably do.
They're usually
right?
actually combined for homes, so.
Hey, thank you all. Thank you for the great questions. Be safe online. Good luck. Thanks.